Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. This article that I have here for tonight, for this video, is an example of a free, independent and sovereign country. Free from outside interference, right? Independent from outside influences, and sovereign because it can do really whatever it wants within its borders without outside orders. And this is China. Some people like it, some people don't like it, but that's a reality. And what's going on when you have a country like that? And let's say United Nations tries to impose sanctions or comes with some reports, blaming China for this or China for that, and requests access to certain locations, people, and wants China's cooperation. What do you think China does? I think China does what an independent country, strong country does. Tells you when to off. All right, we might not like China, but definitely China is strong and knows its own strength, because there are some strong countries who really don't know that they are really strong or the extent of their strength. China definitely knows it. So this article comes from Reuters from September 9th, 2022. China ambassador says United Nations report on Xinjiang has closed the door of cooperation. Bye bye. That's what these guys are doing. So, China's ambassador to the United Nations in Geneva said on Friday that Beijing would not cooperate with the United Nations Human Rights Office following the release of a long-awaited report on alleged human rights abuses in the far western region of Xinjiang. So the report, which China had sought to bury, stipulates that serious human rights violations have been committed in China and said the detention of Uyghurs and others Muslim in Xinjiang may constitute crimes against humanity. And I'm quoting, the office closed the door of cooperation by releasing the so-called assessment. Ambassador Chen Shu told reporters, describing the report released on August 31st as, quote-unquote, illegal and invalid. China vigorously denies any abuses in Xinjiang. The report was released minutes before outgoing High Commissioner Michelle Bachelet ended her 4-year term and followed her visit to the country in May. It recommends prompt steps to release all those detained in training centers, prisons, or detention facilities. It also envisages continuous engagement between the UN Rights Office and Beijing, including future meeting and follow-up visits as agreed between Bachelet and Beijing at the end of her visit. And now I am quoting. Now the whole set of ideas is shelved because of the release of the report. Chen told reporters, and I'm quoting again, you cannot hurt us while in the meantime enjoy cooperation with us. The China report is expected to be discussed during a meeting of the Human Rights Council, which opens next week. Human Rights Council, which opens next week, Chen said he would firmly oppose any measures against China in that session. Previously, Bachelet had been accused by some rights activists of being too soft on China, although the hard-hitting report helped redeem her credibility in the eyes of some. Chen said he felt that apparent changes in Bachelet's stance indicated she did not support the report's conclusions. And I'm quoting, "If I read her mind correctly, I don't think she's on board with the report, and that's why it was released in the last minute," he said. The Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights is currently being run by a deputy, pending the arrival in Geneva by Austria's Volker Turk, who was appointed on Thursday. An OHCHR spokesperson declined to provide an immediate comment on the Chinese ambassador's remarks. Well, if the outsiders come in your house and they determine that they found something in your house that is not right according to the international standards, you violations without doing anything. And then if you don't want to follow what United Nations or this body tells you, you say, well, first you tell them and then you come and talk to me. Otherwise, you're unfair. Well, that's a way of doing things if you really don't want that. Well, besides, that body, United Nations Human Rights, doesn't really have power. You know, I mean, you can have happens over there in China with those Muslim and so on. If they're abused, they're hurt. Obviously, I would like that not to happen. But on the other hand, you have to understand that it's a country. It has its own, however you want to, you know, take it. It has limitations. The United Nations has limitations. So what's going to happen? Will NATO bomb China for that? It bombed Yugoslavia. And if not, why not? For the obvious reasons, correct? So this is what happens when you have a big fish and United Nations really can't do much about it. The same is with United States, with Great Britain, with France. You can say, well, they do not, you know, their human rights record is fantastic. I don't think so. I mean, United Nations came into being in a time when the United States, I know, it didn't really, you know, was a offender for some time, and not since then things obviously changed and improved and all that, and it's much better. But in this case, what are you going to do to China? As I always say, when you go and you threaten someone or you tell them something to do, you got to make sure that you have the leverage to impose that on that person or to apply something. I wonder what United Nations can do to China, even if China abuses those that kind of group, which I said I don't know. United Nations came with a study or whatever report. They say yes, they do. Okay, they do. Now what? China said, bye-bye, we're not going to cooperate with you. What's going to happen? Now imagine that would have been Romania. NATO would be on it. European Union will be on it. Lithuania will be on it. Poland will be on it. You know what I mean? So this is just an example of how the world is ran. The big guys have a set of rules. The little guys have all the rules. And the big guys If they pick and choose the rules to follow, the little guys must follow the rules unless they are right on the payroll of the big fishes or fish. All right. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.